Hi, and welcome to the Diamond Report for Tuesday, June 6th, 2017. This is your host, Doug Diamond. It's currently 12:35 p.m. We're looking at Earthquake 3D, the last 48 hours worth of earthquakes globally. Not a lot new to report on today, so we'll keep the earthquake update very short. I was just looking at South America here and seeing that Peru has a magnitude 4.2. And if I turn the rings down here, you can see right here, this 4.2 in southern Peru, which is right where I'm going to be in a few days. So my guess is I'm going to feel some earthquakes while I'm down there. So I'll be reporting back on what happens in Peru when I come back, and let you know what transpires not only with earthquakes, but also the reason for going down there in the first place. So it's a very interesting concept and an interesting idea. Just to briefly recap on why I'm going, it's a tour. It's actually a expedition tour and conference, both at the same time. It's in Cusco, Peru, which is, I think it's straight east, more or less, of the capital of Lima. So I'm flying into Lima and then going to Cusco, and then we'll also be making our way to Machu Picchu and some other places. Sacsayhuaman, which if you follow me on Facebook, that's my profile picture, Sacsayhuaman, Peru. Basically, it is an area that is full of megalithic structures, and the trip is to put hands on and to prove what's already been proven, and that is the Genesis 6 narrative in the Bible. So this will put feet to the pavement, as it were, and give us a chance. That I think there's 30-some people going on this expedition / conference. It'll give us a chance to really see for ourselves the Bible as the Genesis 6 narrative comes alive. And not that I've ever doubted it, but it'll be good to actually see it in person. And so I'm definitely looking forward to doing that. And at the same time, I think I'll be feeling a few earthquakes. We'll just have to see what happens. I'm only going to be there like a week, so it's possible I could miss one, but my guess is I will probably feel one. And as far as the rest of the globe goes, we're looking at the last 48 hours. Not a lot new to report. That 6.0 in Ecuador that I mentioned yesterday is still our largest quake, and I don't have any new activity to show you at the moment in the United States, not because there hasn't been any, but for some reason my earthquake feeds are not loading in on the United States. So I've refreshed my earthquake feed here a few times, and it's not bringing anything new in. So even if I go back a week, it's not even showing me a week-old earthquakes here, and there have definitely been some. So anyway, I think it's just a technical glitch, not a big deal. It'll come back, it usually always does. Everything else around the planet looks relatively normal. We've got our minor swarm of earthquakes in western Turkey and Italy. And you can see the progression of pressure movement clear across Asia, the Middle East, and into Europe. And got quite a bit of activity. Maybe a little less than normal, I would say, unless some of these earthquake feeds are not loading in right now. Maybe a little less than normal in the Western Pacific, but let's go ahead and move on to the headlines. Saudi Arabia shuts local Al Jazeera office for promoting plots of terrorist groups. That's on Zero Hedge. Breaking: Tim Farron calls on Theresa May to block Donald Trump's state visit to the UK. Too funny. Slavery is freedom. Submit to the state and be free from terrorism. That's pretty much how it works. That's on thedailybell.com. Poland says no Muslim immigrants means no terror attacks. It's funny how that works, isn't it? Well, Poland has it figured out. It's on the Gateway Pundit. DHS officers humiliate judges by enforcing immigration laws, declares a judge. That's on Breitbart. Yeah, think about that one. So the judge is saying that he's being humiliated because the DHS officers are, quote, enforcing the laws. Fox host calls out Al Gore on failed global warming junk science predictions and fear-mongering. That's on the Gateway Pundit. Well, Al Gore is a fear-monger, but all of his garbage that he's been spewing left and right is mostly about us giving up our rights and giving into globalism. That's what we don't need. Al Gore's numbers and statistics that he puts out are actually wrong in the opposite direction of what most people think. It's far worse than what he talks about as far as warming, planetary warming, global warming. The term has been bastardized, but we do have planetary warming caused primarily by geoengineering. CO2 is a factor, yes, but geoengineering is the big factor. And no one wants to talk about that. All they want to do is say how terrible Al Gore is, which I agree with, and how global warming is junk science, which some of it is. I'll give you that. However, what's really happening on the ground is far worse than what anybody's even talking about. And along those notes, this one says, they can't even get the weather right. How could they even get that right? What Trump reportedly said about pulling out of the climate change agreement. Stunning study reveals why intolerant university leftists cannot see reality. They have been trained to cognitively miss details that don't conform to liberalism. That's on Natural News. Yeah, that's all true. Also, they've been highly, quote, educated, which means brainwashed by the power structure. Congressman says every single radicalized Islamic suspect should be killed. That's on dailycaller.com. Well, I disagree with that. The real answer is to make it much harder for them by closing borders and not letting them just waltz across any border they want into any country they want and do anything they want, and also to not be so politically correct on our parts. We need to not worry about how Islamic, or I guess it would be radical Islamic people feel. We need to not worry about whether or not they feel like they're included or not, because they're clearly of a different faction and don't want to be part of our society. They don't want to integrate. They want to take it over. Once we realize that that's how it works, that will go a long way towards stopping this whole thing without killing anyone. And besides, at that point, they can claim anybody as a radicalized Islamic suspect and kill anybody they want for anything. That is a long and dark path that we do not want to go down. Speaking of dark paths, Senate committee launches first new Clinton corruption investigation. That's on the Daily Caller. That would definitely be a long and dark path, and let's hope the people who are doing the investigation will live through it. NATO splinters. Germany says, quote, has no choice but to pull out troops from Turkey's Incirlik airbase. That's on Zero Hedge. The shocking trigger behind today's Gulf scandal, Qatar, some people say Qatar, Qatar paid Al-Qaeda and Iran $1 billion in hostage deal. That's on Zero Hedge. Globalists turning unsuspecting men into women. That's with Dr. Ted Broer on the Dave Hodges show. Ted Broer is a great person to listen to. I highly recommend it. And of course, this is talking about all of the chemicals that we as men are being exposed to, women as well, from different things that we wouldn't suspect, like hand sanitizers and things like that that have estrogen mimickers built right into them, and we absorb them into our skin. And they are helping to turn us into women by adding all the extra hormones and estrogen in particular. The U.S. needs to consider North Korea's secret weapons before attacking. That's by Dave Hodges. Is Trump a victim of, quote, the deep state, also known as the New World Order? That's the new term that we're using, I guess. But he's a victim, but he's also a willing participant. It's both. That's on Zero Hedge. Democrats plot debt ceiling fight and government shutdown to thwart the Trump tax cuts. That's on Zero Hedge. Create your re-education camp on your own dime. Lawmakers propose defunding Evergreen College. That would be a good first step for sure. But it's not just Evergreen College. There's so many colleges, pretty much all of them, that are receiving taxpayer funds and property tax funds and state funds and taxes and everything else. They're all just indoctrination centers for our kids. We're sending our kids to these places and trusting that they're going to have our kids' best interests in mind, but they don't. They're being trained to be globalist servants and also members of the Borg. NSA leaker called Trump a piece of blank is a fan of Bernie Sanders, also known as BS. First arrest over TrumpiLeaks. Intelligence contractor 25 with top secret clearance is charged under espionage laws for handing classified NSA report on Russian election hacking to website. That's from The Intercept. Why are so many big investors positioning themselves to make giant amounts of money if the stock market crashes? That's by Michael Snyder. Russia scrambles fighter jet to intercept U.S. B-52 bomber over Baltic Sea. That's on Zero Hedge. Jailed NSA leaker reality winner, quote, being white is terrorism. That's on Information Liberation. So there you go. I'm a terrorist because I'm white. Even though it's not white people that are causing the terror, it's Muslims who are Arabs who happen to be followers of Islam, which is not a race. Is this how the NSA leaker was tracked down so quickly? Series of nearly invisible yellow dots on the leaked document revealed exactly when and where it was printed. In more crazy talk, kill them all Republican congressman dubbed the Cajun John Wayne says all of Christendom is at war with heathen, radicalized Muslims. Well, we're not at war with them, they're at war with us. They want to kill us. But that does not mean we have to go kill them first. Have you ever heard the analogy, what do you fight fire with? Most people say, with fire. But if you take fire and add more fire to it, you just get a larger fire. No, you fight fire with water. And in this case, we need to fight fire with the Holy Spirit, with prayer, and with making sure that these radical Muslims, if you want to call it that, cannot do what they've been allowed to do. The answer is not to kill them. They're brainwashed just like so many other people are. They're brainwashed into believing what these Imams tell them. It's not that they're sitting at home reading the Quran every day, wondering what they can do to kill kafirs. They are wanting to kill kafirs, but it's because the Imams put them up to it. They're the true radicals. We need to control the Imams more than anything, and then the other people below them will follow. Quote, we will make them regret joining. ISIS fighters blindfolded and shot dead by vigilantes. That's on the Express. So more of what I'm talking about. And even more. Imams refuse to pray for London Bridge terrorists in unprecedented move. It's not unprecedented. The Imams are the ones running the show. The average people who are what we call radical extremists are just doing what the Imams tell them to do. They're like bots. They're like little robots running around. The Imams tell them to go blow themselves up, so that's what they go do. Because it's the Imams who have the direct connection and memorization of the different scriptures, the Quran, the Sirah, and the Hadith. They know them frontwards and backwards. And of course, that is about everything that has to do with Muhammad and his life and how he does everything from sleeping to going to the bathroom to raping women to you name it. Everything is detailed in those scriptures, and the Imams know it forward and backward. But the average person out there blowing themselves up for Islam does not know anything about that. They're brainwashed bots. Quote, get them off the street. Muslim leader demands terror glorifiers are immediately detained. That's on the Express. Boris Johnson rails against Sadiq Khan, backing Trump visit after the London attack. Sadiq Khan, of course, being the Muslim mayor of London. Breaking news. Terror in Paris as hammer-wielding man is shot by police after attacking an officer as streets are cleared and tourists are locked in Notre Dame Cathedral for their safety. Locked down for our safety, yes. TrumpiLeaks. Michael Moore launches whistleblowing website to oust the president. That's on RT. Well, if you want a load of laughs, I guess go visit the website. Because I can just about guarantee you nothing on that website will be true whatsoever. The Kremlin rejects secret NSA report accusing Russia of targeting voter registrars. That's on RT. U.S. nuclear-powered attack submarine docks in South Korea. That's on RT as well. Forget terrorism. The real reason behind the Qatar crisis is natural gas. That's by Zero Hedge. It's for Syria. Man attacks police outside Paris Notre Dame Cathedral. 2,000 trapped. That's on the Express. Twilight of the Courts. The elusive search for justice in the American police state. Police can stop, arrest, and search citizens without reasonable suspicion or probable cause. That's on Rutherford.org. Oxford University says Hillary Clinton is a psychopath. Well, tell me something I don't know. Washington's empire is not unraveling. That's by Paul Craig Roberts. Video, 50 killed in month as cartel violence rages near Texas. It's on Breitbart. Melbourne Islamist killer was refugee from Somalia. That's on the Gateway Pundit. Canada passes law banning opposition to transgender agenda. So there you go. If you oppose it, you'll either be fined or jailed or somehow punished. If you oppose the transgender agenda, which I think is like 0.00001% of the population. But you can't oppose it because now you're homophobic. Flashback, Sadiq Khan vigorously defended convicted terrorists in 2002. That's on the Gateway Pundit. Hillary Clinton says the best way to stop terrorism is to, quote, understand other cultures. Eat their food. Hillary doesn't have to understand anything because she's above everyone and just sits down and looks over the railing at us and tells us all what to do like she's some sort of queen or something. She's not going to eat their food or understand their culture. She's worried about running the PSYOP, and that is that multiculturalism is somehow good, but it's not. Facebook removes a video which links jihad terror to Islam. That's on freedomoutpost.com. They're going to be removing a lot of videos then, including mine. Great debt unwind. Bankruptcies by consumers and businesses jump. That's on wolfstreet.com. Fighting systems of oppression. UCLA will pay students to be, quote, social justice advocates. That's on shtfplan.com. See, what was I saying about the, quote, higher learning centers, the colleges, the universities? They're just indoctrination training centers anymore. That's all they are. You don't learn how to do anything or be anything other than you leave school with a ton of debt you can never pay back and a useless degree. And on top of it, you're a brainwashed troll or brainwashed bot who does everything that the globalism and the globalists want you to do, and you become the perfect Borg robot. The West's war on free speech. That's on Activist Post. It's time to deny all government funding to liberal colleges that can't stand up to their own deranged, intolerant students. That's on Natural News. I think I just said that. FBI committed treason under Comey. Surveillance on Americans illegally leaked to other nations. It's on Natural News. Here we go. If you believe in climate change, you are part of an anti-life cult that seeks the genocide of plants, forests, and ecosystems across our planet. That's on Natural News. That's a load of BS. A load of Bernie Sanders. A load of Barbara Streisand. A load of Bruce Springsteen. Bravo Sierra. None of that's true. Climate change, it only exists because of geoengineering. And if you can't mention geoengineering, you have no idea what you're talking about. CO2 is fine for plants and forests and ecosystems, but too much of it is not, and that's what we're facing. But before we can do anything about CO2, we have to stop geoengineering and these ongoing climate engineering programs. We just do. Breaking, a Hillary conviction is being offered up in a deal between the deep state and Trump. That's by Dave Hodges of The Common Sense Show. CNN admits chemtrails exist. Once again, the mainstream media is years behind when it comes to breaking news. This is by Owen Shroyer on InfoWars. I gotta tell you, Owen is exactly right. He's saying exactly what I've been saying. People keep talking about global warming, but more importantly, they talk about climate change. And no one ever talks about chemtrails or geoengineering. No one ever talks about that in the same breath as climate change. And Owen what he does here in his video report is exactly right. Of course, CNN isn't actually admitting chemtrails exist. What they do is they talk about this NASA rocket launch and how they're going to be spraying chemicals to create fake clouds. So they do admit to some extent that that is happening. However, they're not going out of the context of this rocket. They're not saying that it's happening every day. They're just saying that for the case of this rocket launch, they will be creating artificial clouds. Yes, they do say that. But they're not saying that what we're seeing spewing out of the backs of jet aircraft, thousands and thousands of them each and every day, is part of the chemtrail, geoengineering, climate engineering programs. They're not saying that. So that's a little deceptive. However, what Owen says in his video report here is very good. If you get a chance, definitely check it out. Why mainstream ignores Bilderberg. The secretive meeting has been brought to the public's attention thanks to alternative media. Flashback: British PM pushed internet regulations before London attacks. Perfect example of problem, reaction, solution, which is the Hegelian dialectic that I've talked about and so many other people do. U.S. intel community launches Face ID contest. Wanted algorithms that can identify people from security camera footage. It's on Defense 1. From David Knight, mainstream media on the terrorist. He was such a nice guy. The establishment refuses to tell the truth about Islamic terrorists. London Bridge attack. We are too tolerant on Muslim extremism. In order to defeat radical Islam, more people need to speak out. Left defends Londonistan mass murder. Liberals quick to blame racism for Islamic terror attack. New record. America arms itself. Quote, necessary steps to defend selves. Megyn Kelly to interview Alex Jones at InfoWars Command Center. Kelly follows up Putin interview with InfoWars founder. That should prove to be really interesting. London Bridge terrorist entered UK as a refugee with his parents. Was shown in documentary praying next to Islamist flag. Video: Maxine Waters triggered over Russia question. Quote, I'm not going to be diverted by people who are Obama haters, she says. Well, she's a Trump hater. ISIS threatens new attacks in France. Russian expert paid by Soros penetrates Trump White House. Globalists trying to undermine Trump's agenda. That's by Jerome Corsi. Canada's new law lets government take children away if parents don't accept their gender identity. Parents must accept kids' chosen gender identity or gender expression, which of course will be influenced by the school and introduce confusion into these kids' minds, and then that gives the government cause or reason to take kids away from their parents, because confused kids won't know whether they're boys or girls. Is London Bridge terror attack a false flag? England under Islamic siege. Radical Muslims who have vowed to take over England are waging war. Yeah, and according to the press, they're just innocent people who are just misunderstood, and we need to give them everything because we don't want to hurt their feelings. Man who caught CNN staging fake news talks to InfoWars, and the story gets crazier. CNN faked an anti-terror protest after the London Bridge attack. None dare call it jihad. Trump's response to London Bridge attack twisted by the left. Report: Swedish women prove their tolerance by having sex with refugees. Quote, child sex partners are actually adult male migrants. U.S. company to start trials reawakening the dead in Latin America. Could we soon reverse death? It's on the Daily Mail. That does not sound good. Investigative report. What is behind the plan to ban whites on campus? Minorities bring back segregation to feel, quote, safe on campus. Trump delivers and exposes ISIS creator Bilderberg. Federal contractor Reality Lee Winner arrested for sending classified NSA intelligence to news outlet. Charges against Reality Lee Winner came about an hour after the publication of a story based on NSA document. Anti-Trump leaker Reality Winner's Twitter has been discovered, full of hashtag BLM anti-white tweets. How did this person have top secret security clearance? Sadiq Khan calls for Trump's state visit to be canceled. He's against Everything we stand for. That's on the Daily Mail. Yeah, like open borders and extreme Muslim radicalism, you know, them running around cutting people's heads off. I think Trump is against that stuff. Jailed NSA leaker, reality winner, quote, being white is terrorism. Well, he sounds like a real winner, doesn't he? Teachers report 15-year-old to government extremism watchdog for Caitlyn Jenner jokes. Former Islamic extremist warns Britain is in the midst of jihadist insurgency. British intelligence monitoring UK Islamist army 23,000 strong. That's on the Daily Express. London terrorist was allowed to work at tube station despite being known jihadist. That's on RT. Lion of London, man fought armed jihadists with bare hands. 4,000 Muslim, quote, refugees admitted to the U.S. in May alone. That's on WND. So they continue to come in no matter what Trump says. It's because they just keep going around Trump, or he knows and he's letting it happen. I'm not sure which. My guess is he doesn't want it to happen, and they're going around him anyway. Man shot by police after attacking them with hammer at Notre Dame. The West is bleeding to death. Who shot it? The Intercept burns source of NSA leak. Reporters failed to protect source, who now faces years in prison. Gene-based therapy that reprograms immune cells offers hope for blood cancer. How to stop Obamacare revealed. Police officers force man to the ground using nothing but a finger gun, and it works. That's on the Daily Mail. Study shows networks are losing viewers to their cell phones. Technology to kill our jobs, minds, and freedom. Czech scientists see growing risk of asteroid hitting Earth. Conway says, imagine if mainstream media said ISIS as much as Russia. Well, that's a good point. London Bridge attack, the full story. Find out the truth behind Europe's latest terror attack. And then, as we know, CNN is ISIS. Mainstream media is in bed with the terrorists. ISIS fighters should be tried and executed, not imported by libtard governments. The Big Chill, 125 Congress members silent on Seth Rich murder. Unsolved killing of DNC staffer has no one talking. Steve says, ask yourself who has that much power to scare the lawmakers into silence. Blackmail me that. That's on WND. I can tell you who. It's Hillary. Hillary has blackmail on everybody there. They're not going to talk about it. Weaponized college snowflakes are finally getting their comeuppance as the tide starts turning against them. That's on All News Pipeline. Nearly 50,000 urged Trump to probe Seth Rich murder. That's on WND. A major eruption occurred at Mount Sakurajima volcano in southwestern Japan. This is the second significant eruption at the volcano in recent weeks. Russia says North Korea's nukes are a direct threat. Once considered a strong ally, Russia has backed fresh sanctions against North Korea. That's on Fox News. Memory hole. U.S. scientists have developed a memory wipe enzyme that can erase memories forever. Steve says, who decides what a bad memory is will be overshadowed by total brain rewrites of implanted memories. That's on Natural News. Open Sesame, CERN's new light source to create science for peace in the Middle East. Steve says when this genie is let out of this lamp, they won't be given 3 wishes, but total devastation. Original article on ChristianTruther.com. FBI documents show Chinese influence in Bay Area protest groups. It's on disobedientmedia.com. Greece forced to sell public water utilities under EU-imposed privatization plan. That's on mintpressnews.com. At $75,560, housing a prisoner in California now costs more than a year at Harvard. That's on LA Times. And on VigilantCitizen.com, Manchester terror attack, rallying the youth around the occult elite. Steve says, must read and understand. Russian President Putin says, have you all lost your senses over there? For me, this is just amazing. You created a sensation out of nothing, and out of this sensation, you turned it into a weapon of war against the current president. It's on ConcernedUSPatriots.com. DHS Chief John Kelly says if we knew all he does about terrorist threats, we'd never leave the house. Don't stop prepping. That's on Survival Dan 101. No longer a conspiracy theory, elite openly paying to ingest the blood of the young. Now hitting the mainstream as the country's elite line up to pay thousands of dollars to ingest the blood of the young. Steve says, blood-sucking Draculites. Well, I go back to my catchphrase, isn't it sweet to be elite? I guess it is if you're a Dracula or some sort of vampire, which most of them are. Catholic Cathedral welcomes Pink Saturday Gay Pride gathering with Bishop's blessing. They want to conquer the last bulwark that is holding fast to the scriptural disapproval of homosexual activity and of all acts that go against natural moral law. That's on lifesitenews.com. As scientists work to reverse death and program the human brain, a future of unimaginable horrors awaits us. The gates of hell have opened, and there's no closing them now. Does more aggressive animal behavior towards humans signify possession? It's on All News Pipeline. It is treason, not espionage. It's time for a clean sweep, as arrest of leaker shows systematic national security failures. Okay, that's it for today's Diamond Report. Thanks for listening and watching, and I will see you tomorrow.